You ever have that moment when someone you love forgets who you really are? When they decide to turn your worth into a joke in front of strangers? That's exactly what happened to me the night my wife decided to mock me at her company's gala dinner. Everyone thought it was hilarious until I showed them exactly how wrong they were. But before I tell you what I did, make sure you hit subscribe, give this story a like, and leave a comment sharing what you would have done in my place. Because trust me, by the end, you'll have an opinion. It started on a Friday evening, one of those crisp winter nights where the sky feels sharp and the air smells like something big is about to happen. My wife, Melissa, had been talking about this annual corporate dinner for weeks. She was a project coordinator at a marketing firm in Chicago, and this event was her chance to network, as she called it. I didn't think much of it. I was proud of her, honestly. I've worked in auto repair for over 20 years, own my own little shop, and while it's not glamorous, it's honest work. I fix cars, I treat my employees right, and I make a decent living. I thought that was enough. Turns out, it wasn't enough for her anymore. The dinner was held at this downtown restaurant with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city lights. I wore my best suit, a gray one Melissa had bought for me a few years back, and she looked stunning in a silver gown that shimmered under the chandelier light. She was all smiles when we walked in, arm in arm, like the perfect couple. But something in her tone all night felt off. The way she introduced me to her colleagues, "This is my husband, Daniel. He runs a car shop," sounded more like an apology than an introduction. I noticed the subtle smiles, the polite nods, and the quiet glances between her coworkers. They didn't say anything rude, but I could feel it, the unspoken hierarchy, the uninvited judgment. I brushed it off, telling myself I was overthinking. We sat at a long table filled with marketing executives, HR reps, and their spouses. The wine was flowing, laughter filled the air, and for a while, it was fine. I even made a few people laugh with a story about a customer who once tried to fix a transmission with duct tape. Melissa gave me a look, half amusement, half warning, but I ignored it. I was trying to be friendly. Then came the toast. Her boss, a slick guy named Eric, stood up and started praising everyone for their hard work and professionalism. People clapped, glasses clinked, and Melissa leaned toward me, whispering something that made my blood freeze. "Let's hope next year you can afford to donate to the company fundraiser instead of fixing the cars that bring the donations." She said it with a laugh, light and playful, but the people around us heard. A couple of them chuckled. Eric smirked. I forced a smile, pretending it didn't sting, but my face was burning. I felt small, like I didn't belong there, like the guy who fixes things was just a prop for her image. I excused myself, went to the bar, and ordered a whiskey. That's when I caught the sound of her laughter from behind me. She was talking to a group of her colleagues, saying something about how she deserved a husband with more ambition. The words sliced through me like a blade. I turned slightly and saw her hand resting on Eric's arm as she laughed, tossing her hair, glowing in the attention. He said something back, and she leaned closer, too close, pretending it was just friendly. My hands tightened around the glass, but I didn't say a word. I just watched. I wasn't angry, at least not in the way I thought I would be. I was clear, completely, chillingly clear. I waited until she turned around, spotted me watching, and her smile faltered for just a second. Then she recovered and walked over like nothing had happened. "You okay?" she asked, that practiced sweet tone in her voice. "You look tense." "I'm fine," I said. "Just thinking about what you said." She blinked, pretending she didn't know. "What did I say?" "That thing about ambition," I said, my voice steady. "That you deserve someone more ambitious." Her cheeks flushed. "Danny, come on, it was a joke." "Sure," I said, finishing my drink. "A funny one." She tried to laugh it off, but something in my eyes made her stop. I leaned closer, lowering my voice so only she could hear. "You just told a room full of people that your husband isn't good enough for you. That's not a joke, Melissa. That's who you are." She opened her mouth, but I didn't give her the chance. I stood, left a 20 on the bar, and walked straight out of that glittering, fake smiling room. Behind me, the laughter faded, the warmth disappeared, and the cold city air hit me like a reset button. I didn't shout. I didn't make a scene. I just left. Because some silences are louder than anything you can say. And that silence? It was the beginning of something Melissa never saw coming. When I stepped out into the freezing Chicago night, I didn't even feel the cold. I just started walking. The streets were slick with fresh snow, the city lights reflecting in the puddles, and the sound of traffic felt distant, like I was underwater. I didn't know exactly where I was going, but I knew I wasn't going home. Not yet. I needed space, time, silence. I ended up at a 24-hour diner 3 blocks away. It smelled like coffee, bacon, and old dreams. I sat at the counter, ordered a black coffee, and stared at my reflection in the window. For the first time in a long time, I really looked at myself. Not the man my wife wanted me to be, not the man her friends judged, but just me. The guy who fixed things for a living, who worked with his hands, who made an honest living. Somewhere along the line, I realized she had stopped seeing that man as enough. Around midnight, I finally checked my phone. 5 missed calls, 3 texts, all from Melissa. Danny, where did you go? This isn't funny. Please come back. People are asking about you. I turned off my phone, finished my coffee, and drove to my brother Matt's place on the south side. He was half asleep when he opened the door. Rough night? He asked, rubbing his eyes. You could say that, I said, stepping inside. Got beer. He pointed to the fridge. I told him the whole story as we sat on his worn-out couch, the TV playing some late-night rerun in the background. Matt didn't interrupt, just listened. When I finished, he leaned back and whistled. Man, she really said that in front of her boss. Right in front of him. And everyone else. So what are you going to do? He asked. I looked down at the beer bottle in my hands, twisting the cap. I don't know yet. But I'm done pretending. Matt nodded slowly. Good. About damn time. I slept in his guest room that night, or at least I tried to. My mind replayed everything. Her laugh, that smug look on Eric's face, the sound of the room going quiet when I left. By morning, I knew what I had to do. When I got home around 8, Melissa was pacing the kitchen, still in her robe, mascara smudged, looking like she hadn't slept either. Where were you? She demanded the second I walked in. I was worried sick. I stayed at Matt's. I said, calm as ever. I figured you needed some time to enjoy your ambition without me holding you back. Oh my God, you're being so dramatic, she said, throwing her hands up. It was a joke. Everyone knew I didn't mean it. Funny, I said, setting my keys on the counter. They didn't look like they thought it was a joke. You're twisting this, she said quickly. I was just trying to fit in, that's all. You know how people are at these events. They brag, they exaggerate. I didn't mean anything by it. You didn't mean to embarrass me in front of your whole company? You're not being fair. No, I said, my voice dropping lower. What's not fair is spending years working hard, paying for everything, and still being treated like I'm not enough. She looked away, biting her lip. You're overreacting. Maybe, I said. Or maybe I've just had enough of being the punchline in your social circle. Oh, please, she snapped. You're acting like I committed a crime. I said one stupid thing at a party. You didn't say one thing, I said. You said what you've been thinking for months. That I don't make enough money, that I'm not ambitious, that you deserve better. You just finally had enough wine to say it out loud. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. I walked past her, grabbed my duffel bag from the hallway closet, and started putting a few things inside. What are you doing? She asked, panic creeping into her voice. I'm giving you space to figure out what you actually want, I said. You've made it pretty clear it's not me. You can't just walk out. Watch me. Where are you going? Back to Matt's. Maybe for a few days. Maybe longer. This is ridiculous, she shouted, following me to the door. You're seriously leaving over a few words? I stopped, turning to face her. No, I'm leaving because those few words told me everything I needed to know. I'm not angry, Melissa. I'm just done begging to be respected. She looked like she wanted to argue more, but no words came. I opened the door and stepped into the cold again. As I closed it behind me, I heard her voice, quieter now. You're going to regret this. I almost smiled. We'll see, I said and left. At Matt's place, I finally felt something close to peace. No judgment, no cold looks, no fake apologies. Just silence. I fixed a few things around his house that day, small stuff, a squeaky door, a loose cabinet hinge. It helped me think. That evening, Melissa called again. I didn't answer. Then came the texts. I can't believe you're doing this. Come home, we need to talk. Please. I ignored them all. I needed her to sit with what she'd done, to feel the weight of her own words without me trying to fix it. Around midnight, I got one final message. If you don't come back, don't bother coming back at all. I stared at it for a while, then set my phone down and turned off the light. For once, I didn't chase after her. For once, I let the silence do the talking. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of my phone vibrating nonstop on the nightstand. I ignored it at first, but after the fifth call, I finally glanced at the screen. Melissa. 10 missed calls, 2 voicemails, and a dozen texts that started angry and ended desperate. You can't just disappear like this. We need to fix this. Please call me, Daniel. I tossed the phone back onto the bed and sat there for a while, staring at the pale sunlight coming through the blinds. There was a peace in the silence, something I hadn't felt in a long time. At Matt's, everything was simple. Coffee, quiet, the smell of motor oil from his garage. No passive-aggressive comments. No careful walking around fragile egos. I fixed his leaky faucet that morning just to keep my hands busy. By noon, Melissa showed up at the door. She looked exhausted, hair tied back, eyes red, wearing one of those oversized coats she used to love when things were good between us. Matt gave me a look that said, "Your circus, your monkeys," and disappeared into the garage. She stepped inside without asking, holding a coffee cup like a peace offering. "You left me," she said softly. "You embarrassed me," I replied, just as calmly. "We both had a rough night, I get it," she said. "But this running away thing, come on, you're being immature." "You think I'm running away?" I asked, setting down my wrench. "No, Melissa. I'm standing still for the first time while you realize what you've done." Her face tightened. "You're making it sound like I cheated or something." "I didn't." "You didn't need to," I said. "You just told everyone I'm not good enough for you." "It was a joke," she said again, her favorite excuse. "Everyone jokes." "Yeah," I said. "But not everyone laughs at their spouse while doing it." She exhaled, her breath fogging in the cold air. "So what now? You plan on living here forever?" "No," I said. "Just long enough to decide if I want to come home to a wife who respects me." "You're being impossible." "No," I said, my tone flat. "I'm being honest." She put the cup on the counter, clearly realizing she wasn't going to win this round, and left. The sound of the door closing felt final. For the next 2 days, I didn't hear from her. And then, Friday night, she called again. This time, I picked up. Her voice was trembling. "I'm sorry, okay? I messed up." "Why now?" I asked. "Because everyone at work keeps asking if we're okay," she said. They saw how upset I was. "So you're sorry because people noticed?" Silence. Then, "I'm sorry because I hurt you." "Better," I said. "But not enough." She sighed. "Can you come home? We can talk." "Not yet," I said. "You need to figure out why you think I'm the problem when all I've done is love you." She started to cry, but I didn't soften. I'd spent years being her emotional punching bag. I wasn't doing it anymore. After we hung up, I sat there in the quiet living room, thinking about how strange it was that love can turn into pity when respect disappears. Saturday afternoon, Matt came in with 2 beers and dropped one next to me. "You really think she's going to change?" he asked. "I don't know," I said. "But I'm not going back until she learns to value what she has." He nodded. "Good. But just be ready for the storm when she realizes you're serious." I didn't have to wait long. Sunday morning, there was a knock at the door. Melissa again, this time with a suitcase in her hand. "I'm not leaving until we talk," she said firmly. "Fine," I said, stepping aside. She walked in, sat on the couch, and took a deep breath. "I talked to Eric," she started. "He said I should apologize." "Your boss?" I asked. "The guy you were flirting with while you joked about me?" "I wasn't flirting," she said quickly. "And yes, him. He said I was out of line." "Glad it takes your boss to explain respect to you." Her cheeks flushed, but she didn't argue. "You don't get it, Danny," she said. "That world, it's all about appearances. If you don't look successful, people don't take you seriously." I got caught up in it. "You married me," I said quietly. "Not them." She looked down, twisting her wedding ring. "I know, and I hate that I made you feel small." "You didn't make me feel small," I said. "You made yourself look smaller by tearing me down." She nodded slowly, her voice cracking. "I'm sorry." "Sorry enough to change?" "Yes," she said without hesitation. "I'll prove it." I studied her face for a moment. For once, she wasn't defensive, just tired, real. "Then start by staying with your own words," I said. "You said you deserve better? Go prove it without me for a while." Her eyes widened. "You're kicking me out." "No," I said. "I'm giving you space to live by what you said." "That's cruel." "No," I replied. "It's fair." She didn't say another word, just stood up and left, closing the door behind her quietly this time. I didn't chase after her. I didn't need to. Some lessons can't be taught through yelling. They have to be learned in silence. I didn't know it then, but the silence that followed would be louder than anything I could have said. 3 days passed before I heard from Melissa again. During that time, I went back to work, fixed a dozen cars, and spent my evenings in quiet conversation with Matt or sitting alone on his porch, watching the city glow in the distance. The cold air bit at my face, but it felt honest, clean. When you strip away the noise of other people's opinions, the world gets quiet enough to hear yourself think. On Wednesday evening, I got home from the shop and found her waiting by my truck. She looked different. No makeup, hair pulled back, wearing one of my old flannel shirts under her coat. She didn't look like the woman from that gala, surrounded by glitter and status symbols. She looked like the woman I married years ago, the one who used to bring me lunch at the garage just so we could eat together. "Can we talk?" she asked. "If it's another explanation, don't bother," I said. "It's not an explanation," she replied softly. "It's an apology." I studied her for a second, then nodded toward the porch. We sat down side by side, the air heavy with things left unsaid. She took a deep breath. "I've spent the last few days trying to figure out why I said what I did at that party. And the truth is, I was embarrassed, not by you, but by myself. Everyone at work has these big careers, fancy cars, vacation homes. I felt small, so I try to make myself look bigger by putting you down. At my expense," I said quietly. "Yes, and it was wrong. I see that now. The problem isn't your ambition, Danny. It's mine. I've been chasing an image instead of a life." Her voice cracked, and for the first time, I saw tears in her eyes that weren't about guilt or manipulation. They were about regret. I thought if I acted like one of them, I'd feel successful too. But all I did was lose sight of what actually matters. I didn't say anything at first. I wanted to believe her, but I'd heard apologies before that turned into excuses later. "Words are easy, Melissa," I said finally. "You've said sorry before." "Then let me prove it," she said quickly. "I've already started." I turned down the invitation to the company retreat next month. And I told Eric I wouldn't be attending any more of those events unless spouses were invited. He wasn't happy about it, but I don't care. "That's a start," I said carefully. "But that's not about me. That's about you doing damage control." She nodded. "You're right. So here's the part that's about you." She reached into her bag and handed me an envelope. Inside was a check. "What's this?" I asked. "My first contribution to our savings," she said. "I've been freelancing on the side for extra income. I realized if I want nicer things, I should earn them instead of resenting you for not providing them." I looked at the check. It wasn't a huge amount, but it was something. A gesture of accountability. "You didn't have to do this," I said. "I did," she replied. "Because I've been wrong about what providing means. It's not just about money. It's about showing up, respecting each other, sharing the weight. You've been doing that alone for too long." The silence between us stretched for a while. I could hear the faint hum of traffic, the sound of a dog barking down the block, and her shaky breathing. "You really think you can change?" I asked. "No," she said honestly. "I know I have to change. And I will. Not to win you back, but because I don't like the person I was becoming." For a moment, I saw something in her eyes. Humility, maybe even fear. The kind of fear that comes from realizing you might have destroyed something real while chasing something fake. "You hurt me, Melissa," I said quietly. "You made me feel like a prop in your life." "I know," she whispered. "And I hate that. I don't expect forgiveness right away. I just want a chance to earn it." I leaned back in the chair, rubbing my hands together for warmth. "You know, when I left that night, I wasn't angry. I was done. Done trying to prove my worth to someone who didn't see it. But sitting here, hearing this, maybe there's still something left worth fighting for." She looked at me, eyes hopeful but cautious. "Does that mean you'll come home?" "Not yet," I said. "But maybe soon. I need to see consistency, not desperation." "Fair," she said, nodding. "Then I'll prove it. However long it takes." Over the next few weeks, she did. She stopped calling me 10 times a day and started texting small updates. Pictures of meals she cooked, notes about work, random, thinking of you messages that felt genuine. She showed up at the garage one afternoon with lunch, just like she used to, and didn't try to talk about the past. She just sat with me, watched me work, and smiled. It was simple, but it meant more than any apology could. About a month later, I came home one evening to find her sitting on the front steps again. Only this time, I didn't hesitate. I sat down beside her. She handed me a small box. Inside was my wedding ring, polished and shining. I kept it clean, she said quietly. Didn't want it to lose its shine while we figured ourselves out. I turned the ring over in my hand, feeling the familiar weight. You know, Melissa, love isn't about fancy parties or appearances. It's about showing up when it's uncomfortable, when it's real. I know that now, she said, and I'm sorry it took losing you to see it. I slipped the ring back on. She smiled through tears. So, does this mean we're okay? It means we're trying, I said. And that's a start. We sat there in silence for a long time, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. For the first time in years, I felt like we were finally speaking the same language again. Maybe we wouldn't have the biggest house or the flashiest car, but we'd have something better, respect. And that's worth more than anything money could buy. If you made it this far, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and drop a comment about what you would have done in my shoes. Because sometimes, walking away isn't the end. It's the only way to start again.